George Hanson, the Pope of Pugilism. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Spike Toney, Chris Toney, photographer extraordinaire. The man does it all. He just got back from Morocco. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good, George.
My brother, people been asking, man, where's Chris? They see me show up at fights and they don't see you on the apron anymore. And I tell them, you're in Morocco. And some people are in disbelief. Did you say Camden? I said, no, I said Morocco. The man's in Morocco, not Camden. So I said, go to his page. Talk to me about Morocco, man. What were you doing?
Oh, man, Morocco was great. I went over there to basically take photos of the country. I went over with another photographer, and we spent about 13 days over there. I basically did a tour of the entire country. Landed in Casablanca, spent the night in Rabat, the capital city. Got a chance to go through a number of Casbahs there, which is not a fake word. It's kind of like a walled-in area where you have a bunch of houses and what have you. And went to the Blue City, the Blue Pearl, called the Chef Challenge, which is up north in the mountains. That was really an amazing area. The people are so nice and genuine. You know, whatever you put out is what you get back from them. And I've always been the type of person that reaches out to people, and they gave it back to me. I left Chef Chowin, made my way down to the city of Meknes. On the eastern side of the country, there is they have a lot of Roman ruins. So it was interesting to see. Well, we would say that they call it the Roman ruins, but the Romans went there to learn how to come up with different architectural themes that they then carried back to Europe. And like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, famous, it's a famous gateway. It was actually designed, the original one is in Africa, you know, in Morocco. I saw that. That was pretty interesting. Then I left Fez. All right, the next city I went down to Fez, and we had the old tanneries, and it was a big trading post along the camel caravan from thousands of years ago. And I was able to see one of the most unique things was the tanning process.
Right, I saw you posted that, how they did that.
Yeah, how they did. They've been doing it in the same place for almost 1,000 years, the same way. And you could sit there and just watch them all afternoon. I mean, it was really something amazing to see. And then I made my way down to a city called Mazuga. Okay. We actually were like right on the border of Algeria, which Morocco and Algeria aren't on the best terms. They actually still are disputing with who owns the Sahara Desert. So I was on the eastern side of the Sahara Desert, spent the night out there, and rode the camels. You've seen the pictures of me in my Moroccan clothing with my turban on, and from there I made my way, started heading back west, and Morocco it's kind of like the United States in that they have a lot of different types of landscapes that you can experience in one small area. And I went to these huge gorges, called the Daddy's Gorges, and it's like the Grand Canyon except smaller. So you could just like walk through, see these huge walls of rock that you're walking through. There's like a river that runs through, and it's peaceful, and spent the night in a hotel there. Most of the time when I spent the night, if I wasn't in a camp, I was in what's known as a riad. And a riad is like an old house that's not like any houses that you see here in the United States. There's multiple levels, 13, 14 rooms, bathrooms, and they explained how traditionally the lower floors are used when it's warm, the upper floors are used when it's the rainy season or colder, heat rises, you have the rain that falls, which falls right into the middle of the house. but they have these wonderful pools with mosaic tiles. And I mean, it's one of those things that we just aren't used to here. And so it really helps you to appreciate, all the cultures.
I'm going to Morocco. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. What's a lot of people don't know, and it always have to correct people when they talk about North Africa. Morocco's in Africa.
It's Africa.
It's Africa. It's not all North Africa. It's Africa.
Yeah.
So what's the most amazing thing you saw that you go, wow, I didn't know this existed?
Oh boy, there's just so many things. I think the biggest thing that I took from it was watching how the old way, the old culture is still alive. You would see men and women walking down the street in their leathers. And for some of the younger kids, they played the game Assassin's Creed.
Right.
They understand that kind of dress. The people dress like that. And it could be, you would see somebody dressed like that walking next to somebody with a suit on, or just jeans and a jacket, or, going to work. And they coexist. And they seem to coexist peacefully. One of the things I learned is that Morocco is one of the most tolerant Muslim countries in the world. And so I didn't run into any kinds of issues where that was concerned. I know a lot of people think in terms of like it's Middle East, it's terrorists and stuff. It is not. It's nowhere near like that. The last place that I stayed in Marrakesh, beautiful Riyadh, Sar Anika, was right next to a Jewish cemetery. Now, in the United States, we're used to seeing Jewish people, Russell Peltz, but when you look at them, they are, they have European. They're from European descent,
Right.
But there, the Jews look like you and I. They have the same skin tone, the same noses, the face. You would not be able to look at two people and tell whether or not one was Jewish, like you frequently can do here, versus someone who wasn't Jewish. And one of the other things that I learned was that the indigenous people of Morocco are Berbers. And you have a mixture of what is the Berber people with the Arabic people who migrated from, Eastern Africa. And so you have that mixture, and then they also have a little bit of the French, Spanish heritage that kind of crosses over with them. So I thought it was truly the experience of a lifetime.
No,
It's the
I
best
was
trip
watching
I've ever
it,
been
man.
on.
And I saw you posted, and I've always known this, and it's incredible, the influence of Bob Marley. I tell people, Bob Marley is everywhere.
Yeah.
You posted a Moroccan guy
Habib
singing
in Fez.
Bob Marley.
Yeah, I
Bob
thought
Marley's song.
he had these
No
old,
Woman, No Cry. He's singing it.
he had these old like African cymbals
Right.
that they make this really unique sound with, and he wanted me to pay him some money to sing. And then, first he thought I took a picture of him, and so he wanted to put some money for that, but I wasn't taking a picture of him. But we started to talk, and so he said he would sing, and if he asked me, if I sing well, will you give me some money? And I was like, yeah. Man, the last thing I expected to hear was Bob Marley. He stood there for 4 minutes and gave me a whole Bob Marley soliloquy. So yeah. It was nice.
You got paid. He knew.
I gave him some money.
Okay.
Yeah, I was handing out money when I was in Morocco.
Question: were you able to visit any gyms? Any gyms in Morocco?
No, I didn't, because I was in the every place I stayed was like in an old city.
Right.
And while each one of the cities that I visited, like Casablanca is the largest city in Africa. It's over 3 million people. And believe me, when you drove in, it felt like you were driving into Manhattan at rush hour. I wasn't too pleased with that. But once we got out into where we normally stayed in the riads, in the Medinas. The Medinas are the old walled cities. And you kind of, most people who don't really know what a Medina is like, but if you watch the show Game of Thrones, you see what it's really like. It's the narrow walkways, paths with people's homes and businesses and what have you. And you kind of wonder why they have these big walls. One, it's to keep out invaders or people that would do them harm. But one of the things that we don't really stop and recognize is that when most of these were built over 1,000 years ago or there in that range, the animals that were around at that time are now extinct. So you had primarily like northern lions used to be. There were bears and other animals, wolves that could, could come in and do damage to the people. So they were, it's a protection. It really is a protection. And so you had every kind of business, every kind of things that you would need to sustain a city were inside of these walls. So I was in the city of Volubilis.
Right.
Roman ruins, and I look up and I realize there's a black man there, and he wasn't dressed like the other Africans that I saw there. So as we were walking toward each other, we both did this together.
The nod.
I call it the brother head nod. And as we walked by each other, he said, "What's up?" I said, "What's up?" And I realized that he was, American. We didn't have any more dialogue, but it was something, we can go anywhere, and it's the same type of connection.
There was a person who did, forget the name of the gentleman. People always ask why black people in environment tend to nod and speak to each other when they don't know each other. It's a theory called victim kinship. Because we've all been victimized, we recognize each other.
That's
It's a theory when you look at it. I could do a whole story on it, but yeah.
I don't know that I believe that, but I know that one of the things I noticed over there was that, like in the South, in the South, people expect you to acknowledge them, say hello. You ride by, you wave, you just say hey. That was it. Yes. And it was the same, I carried the same thing. I spent a lot of time in the South. And so when I would see people that looked like me, but dressed in what looked like more of a Middle Eastern type of dress, I just kind of looked at it and said, wow, we're everywhere.
I speak to everybody, so people look at me. I go any place, I'm hello, how you doing? Yeah. Don't care. Yeah. I just say hello. Yeah. So Morocco, I'm moving to Morocco then. I mean, how the flights from Morocco to Jamaica? I'm moving.
It's inexpensive to go there.
Right.
It's less than $500 round trip.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
To Morocco?
To Morocco. Your meals average about $13 a meal.
$13?
Around the entire country to stay in a hotel. It's like $50 a night.
What?
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like a hidden gem. I know that, and I was explaining this when I was over there. Most African Americans generally want to go to places that their co-workers are going. Most of their co-workers are Europeans or of European descent. So they want to go to the UK, Paris, France, Germany, stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been those places. But you almost never hear anybody say, I'm going to go to an African country.
Me?
And, outside of maybe I'm going to go to Ghana or maybe Liberia. But you almost never hear that. And I think it's really disappointing. And I think it's actually a breath of fresh air to realize that you can go there for less than it costs to go to Jamaica.
Yes.
Right? It's cheaper to stay there. And you're going to see things that more than likely your ancestors were part of, 400 to 600 years ago, or 200 to 400 years ago. And so it was just really, it was one of those things where, I had a lot of, having done a lot of reading, not only about slavery, the passage, and the things that our people had been through. It was really nice to look at how our culture is so deep. We don't recognize, we can't fully understand what we don't have here.
Right.
What's broken. How much worse slavery in the United States was. Not that slavery anywhere is good, but slavery, what was done, the systematic approach to basically crushing not only our spirit, but tearing away our heritage and our connection to the past is gone. I think that's actually one of the reasons that we do have some issues here as far as confidence in ourselves. But you go there, people, you may look on the surface as if they don't have much or anything in some instances, but they have so much. They don't have to prove anything to anybody. They've got their culture, their family, their heritage. They know where they come from, and they know where they're going. And I oftentimes don't think we even have that.
I think one of the things we've lost a lot. I think Bob Marley said it really a good way. Money doesn't make you rich.
No.
People believe that if they get some money, they have to buy a nice, expensive car and post on Facebook and Instagram, and they have money. I've always believed that money doesn't make you rich. It's your heritage, your culture, your family, and the relationships you build.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, and Bob always said it again. Don't forget who you are and where you stand in the struggle.
Yeah.
You might be rich or have money here. If everybody around you suffering and haven't made it, you haven't made it.
That's true.
Yeah. So let me ask this question, man. And I know you're used to driving around. I grew up riding a donkey in Jamaica, rural Manchester. How was it riding a camel?
Camel's cool. Yeah, I actually put a request out on Facebook for names, and my son Jared came up with the name of Carl. So I named my camel Carl. And he was actually he was a bit horny.
Horny is such a harsh word.
He was interviewing other female camels, and he was upset that he was in the lead. Okay. And the camel that he wanted to be behind was behind him. So, man, I've got some videos. He was blowing and making noises, and we kept trying to figure out what's going on with this camel. And the camel driver, his name was Bosu, he said that he wants his girlfriend. His girlfriend's not in front of him, and he knows that she's behind him. So we just kind of laughed about it.
And you call him Carl, why not Shaft? Like John Shaft, he got a lady on the trail, give him a cool name.
Yeah, he would want to spin off and not follow the way he was led. And so at one point, another camel caravan came in front of us, and the driver he basically, led him behind these other camels, and as soon as he smelled the other one, he was good. He was steady chasing her.
How tall, we see it on National Geographic, are they as tall as they appear on television?
They're rather tall. I think the one that I was on was maybe 7 feet, at the top of the hump. So, by the time I was on top of it, I'm at 10 feet above. So,
but did you get over the hump?
We were there we went out to the desert on hump day. So hump day, Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday, okay.
So, yeah.
Man, and do they drink as much water as we see? Did you have the time to
the ones that I rode, I didn't. But there was a point where I went out to a lake and near the Sahara, and you could see that there were other camel drivers that had their camels there to drink water before they went out. So there was a couple times, actually twice, when I was driving down the road, they were, I guess, leading the camels across the road from where the lake was, and which was a couple of miles away. But they get up early, they take the camels out, water them, and then bring them back across the highway, and then they set up on the edge of the desert, and then they pick up the different tourists that are going to go out into the desert for whatever they're going to go for.
Man, well, I grew up watering the goats in the morning, at lunchtime, and taking the goats out in the morning.
Yeah. A camel, you just water them in the morning.
Yeah, I get a camel.
Get a camel.
I'm thinking about it now. You mentioned it. How can I get a camel and be the only guy in Philly with a camel? I'd ride him down to Center City.
Yeah, you'd definitely be the only one.
Yeah, I'd ride him down there on hump day. Like big old Hanson and his camel. Coolest man, black man on the camel. Man, that's amazing. But I I read about Morocco and I became intrigued by the movie Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see The Ghost of Humphrey Bogart? One of my favorite movies, of course.
So one of the things that's interesting is that most people have heard about the movie Casablanca.
Oh yeah, I've seen it at least 100 times.
But the film was filmed on a Hollywood set. So that bar, there is I forget the name, is it Ray's Bar? I forget the name of the bar name, but there's a building there that has the name.
Okay.
And we stopped by, but they were closed.
Okay.
So the whole idea was to go by and get a drink, but they weren't available. So we just took some pictures.
Okay.
And found it.
Is there anything else we gotta know about Morocco? Because I'm going to Morocco. Me and the Candyman and the Jewish Bulldog, Benny Sinekin. We taking a trip to Morocco. Frank Montgomery. We're going to Morocco. Ride some camels.
Yeah.
Anything else intriguing about Morocco that we don't know that you saw firsthand?
There's a lot. There's no way in the world I could even. I would only be scratching the surface to tell you, but. The big thing that I tell people is just go. You know, there's so much that you will see. It's so easy just to immerse yourself in the culture. The people are very open. You can get all kinds of great deals if you want to go do some shopping and stuff. I mean, they have things there that you can't get here, that you really just don't see there. I think one of the most unique experiences for me was meeting a young man in Fez, black man, and his family were pottery makers. And I asked him, how long have you been doing this? And he just kind of looked at me and said, well, my family has been making pottery here in the city of Fez and also in southern Spain for 700 years.
Man.
And that just kind of set me back because, the United States is only a couple hundred years old. 700 years predates slavery in the United States. It predates Americans or Europeans coming to the United States, or what now is the United States. And I started thinking about how many businesses that we know that are even close to being that old. And it was nice to know that there was one family that did something very well. They were known in that region for doing something very well. I ended up buying a couple of pots, in particular a bowl that I use for my salads. And he took the time to explain to me what the different designs were, whether or not it was an Arabic design, an African design. And I personally wanted a bowl that had a design that was Moors. And for anybody that knows anything about the Moors were the Africans that conquered and ruled Europe for 800 years. And so I wanted something that had that, represented that. So I was able to buy a bowl and bring it back, and I now eat my salads at work. Man,
and I got excited when you said pot. I know some Jamaican family that have been involved in the pot business for a couple hundred years, but it has nothing to do with clay. When you said pot, I was like, maybe they were Jamaican when you said pot. But has nothing to do with clay. That's good, man. But this has been very good talking about it and more. I learned a lot. I read about it. So I was following your whole progress. You in the desert. I'm like, my God, there goes Chris with.
Yes.
On a camel.
Yeah.
Get my point. He left a Mercedes or a BMW at home and man's riding a camel. So it was good.
Carl
the Camel. Well, there you have it, folks. Chris Toney. He's back. For all the people in Philly boxing who thought I was making this up, this man been in California. He's been in Morocco. He's back. We were at Parks Casino last week.
Yeah.
He shot that show. So he's back in Philly. And hopefully he will be at the Airport Center this Friday to see Tevin the American Idol Farmer versus Joe Carroll, Hank Lundy, and A.W. Sparrow. Philly versus Philly. The Hammer and the Sparrow. That's going to be a bar. Chris, welcome back, man. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you for sharing. This was really, really good.
If anybody has any questions about it, definitely reach out and give me a call, send me a text, whatever. I'd love to talk about it and share my experience and give you some information so that you can stay some. Definitely go with it.
Okay.
All right,